So let's call this guy Dr. D. And Dr. D, well, he might be on drugs. So Dr. D, he just finished up his residency, and he just landed himself a job as a neurosurgeon. And one day, he's working in a hospital scheduled for a spinal surgery. So he and another surgeon, this guy, Dr. Kirby, they're doing the surgery. But Dr. D, he tries removing the patient's disc using the wrong tool. And Dr. Kirby notices, and he's like, what the f are you doing, dude? And the patient starts bleeding everywhere, but Dr. D, he doesn't stop. And eventually, the patient wakes up with permanent injuries. So Dr. Kirby's like, I am never working with you again. But whatever, Dr. D, he's already got another surgery lined up. So then Dr. D does that surgery, and he screws that one up too. And that patient wakes up paralyzed from the neck down. No problem, Dr. D just takes on another case, and he does another surgery, but that surgery actually goes well. Yeah! And the patient wakes up, and her vitals are all good. Until after the surgery, the patient starts bleeding out. Turns out Dr. D had accidentally cut a major vessel in her spinal cord by mistake. Oops. And by this point, of course, people around Dr. D have gotten very suspicious of him. He's screwing up on the job so bad, people are starting to look at him like, is this guy on drugs? So then his boss at the hospital asks him to do a drug test. And Dr. D does, but he turns in a sample diluted with water. So they make him take another one a few days later. And Dr. D does, but this one comes back clean. So he passes. But regardless of him passing that drug test, the hospital ultimately decides he's a liability. So they allow him to resign. Oh, but that's not gonna stop Dr. D. Soon enough, he gets another job at a different medical center, and he operates on another patient. And this first patient that he operates on at this hospital, after the surgery, she ends up in the ICU. And then she has a stroke, and she ultimately passes away. The very next day, after that operation, he operates on another woman. And he, I guess, accidentally operates in the wrong place on her back, and she ends up in a wheelchair. Permanently. And as all this is going on, people around Dr. D start to notice, like, man, he's just a really weird guy. Like, he'll just show up to work in the same filthy, blood-covered scrubs he's been wearing for days. And sometimes there'll be holes in him and you can, like, see that he's not wearing underwear. So anyway, after less than a week at this new hospital, the hospital admin asks him to resign. But hey, whatever again, because Dr. D, he just goes on to get a new job at 2 different places, a hospital and a surgery center. And while he's working at those places, he damages a guy's spinal cord, leaving him paralyzed on the right side of his body. Then he does the same thing to another patient, leaving him partially paralyzed from the neck down. Then he operates on another guy's back, and before he sews him back up, he accidentally leaves surgical hardware inside the guy, and like just a long list of major screw-ups. And during this time, some of these patients, who are all messed up now, they start showing up to see Dr. Kirby, and they're like, hey, will you fix my botched surgery? And Kirby's like, let me guess, you went to Dr. D. F***ing hate that guy. And Kirby's pissed, and we know he doesn't like Dr. D. So Kirby and 2 other doctors report D to the Texas Medical Board, hoping to get his medical license revoked. And the medical board starts investigating, but that investigation takes a while, and 10 months go by. And Dr. D is still operating on people. And one day, he's operating on this guy, Jeff. And as he's operating, he cuts into Jeff's vocal cords, he punctures an artery, and puts a hole in his esophagus. Then he mistakes part of Jeff's neck muscle for a tumor, and he just abandons the operation halfway through. So his coworkers report him to the Texas Medical Board again. And by this point, the board had been investigating Dr. D for a while. And when they hear about what he just did to Jeff, I'm sure they're like, is this guy on drugs? And they must feel like he is, because they finally suspend Dr. D's medical license. And now he's without a license, and he's humiliated, and he retreats to go live with his parents back in Colorado. And from there, his life just falls apart. Over the next few months, he declares bankruptcy, he gets arrested for a DUI, he gets busted shoplifting, stealing pants and sunglasses and cologne and some other stuff. And after that shoplifting arrest, a Texas newspaper writes an article about Dr. D getting arrested. And Dr. D, he actually sees that article, and then he goes to respond in the comments. And this dude must have been mad, because he writes a whole ass manifesto. He's rage typing, ranting against anyone who he feels may have done him wrong. In fact, his internet comment is so long, when they finally printed it out, it was over 80 pages. You know, I'm starting to think Dr. D might be on drugs. Anyway, Dr. Kirby, he also sees this article, and he also sees Dr. D's crazy long-ass comment. So he forwards that 80-page comment manifesto to the district attorney, along with all the other evidence he's been gathering. The district attorney sees it, and she's like, okay, this guy's gotta be on drugs. And maybe we need to charge him for all these botched surgeries and deaths. Because here's what's crazy. In total, of the 38 surgeries that Dr. D had performed, he botched 33 of them. That means he screwed up 87% of the operations he did in a major way. Anyway, so the police arrest him, here's his mugshot, and they charge him with a bunch of stuff. He goes to trial, he's found guilty, and he's ultimately sentenced to life. And it's the first time in history a doctor's ever been convicted of botching surgeries like that. So, shout out to Texas. So this woman, let's call her Cheesecake. Now Cheesecake, she's an escort, she's a con artist, she lives in Russia, and she had allegedly been trying to con her next door neighbor out of some money. The neighbor is this woman, who we'll call Moms. So Cheesecake tries to con Moms out of some money, and when the con doesn't work, Cheesecake just unalives her. Then she drives Moms' body about 2 hours away and she burns it. Then she goes back to Moms' apartment, scrubs it clean, and takes everything of value. Money, jewelry, everything, hoping she'll never get caught. Now, lucky for Moms, she has a daughter. Her name's Nadia. And Nadia lives all the way over in New York, and Nadia and Moms are close. Like, Nadia calls her every day in Russia to talk to her. And then one day, when Mom stops returning her phone calls, Nadia gets worried. She knows something is very wrong. So Nadia immediately drops everything and flies from New York to Russia to check on her. Now, at one point, Moms had told Nadia about this shady next-door neighbor she has, this woman Cheesecake, and how she thought Cheesecake was trying to con her. Knowing this, Nadia is immediately suspicious of Cheesecake, believing that she had something to do with Mom's disappearance. So Nadia goes to her mother's apartment, tracks Cheesecake down, and she confronts her. Like, hey, where's my mom at? And Cheesecake's like, your mom is still alive. She probably went on vacation or something. And then she just runs away. So Nadia calls the police in Russia, and they start investigating. And they come and they question Cheesecake, but they really don't have any hard evidence against her. Regardless, Nadia is not gonna let this go. She wants to know exactly what happened to her mom. So she starts her own investigation, and she spends about 6 months in Russia trying to figure all this out. She's talking to friends of Mom's, she's posting missing flyers everywhere, she's checking traffic cam footage from all over the city, and during this time, Cheesecake knows police are looking at this case, and she knows the heat is on her. So she just flees the country, and then Interpol finds out, and they put out an international arrest warrant for her. But by this time, she's already long gone. And eventually, sadly, after 6 months of investigating, Russian police finally find Mom's body. And they want to hold Cheesecake accountable, but unfortunately, she's already fled, living a good life in Mexico. And it doesn't look like she's ever gonna get caught. Until soon enough, Nadia is back living in New York, and she's bummed out, and she's trying to get over her mom's passing. But then one day, she's browsing Facebook, and she comes across a Facebook page, Cheesecake's Facebook page. And Nadia's like, oh hell no, I am gonna find this bitch. So she goes and she hires a private investigator to help her. This guy, who we'll call P.I. Now P.I. is apparently very good at what he does. And one of the first things he does, he goes to Cheesecake's Facebook page, and he scrolls through, and he finds this selfie. In the selfie, he can see the reflection in her sunglasses. And through that reflection, he's able to piece together a lot of details, like what kind of car she's driving. And through that, he's able to piece together the area she lives. And by some crazy coincidence, the area that Cheesecake now lives in is New York. Not just near Nadia, but about 5 or 6 blocks away from Nadia. So she's really close. So then P.I. takes all this information and he reports it to the police. Meanwhile, Cheesecake is over here in New York living her best life, but unfortunately for her, her visa is about to expire. And she can't let that happen, because when it does, she'll likely get deported back to Russia. If she gets deported back to Russia, then she'll probably face charges for unaliving Moms. So then Cheesecake comes up with a plan. So she happens to know this local beautician. Her name's Olga. And Olga and Cheesecake kinda sorta look alike. So now Cheesecake wants to get out of trouble by stealing Olga's identity. So Cheesecake befriends Olga and she goes over to her apartment, but beforehand, she put poison in a slice of cheesecake. And she's like, here, try this cheesecake I got for you. Anyway, Olga tries the cheesecake, she gets poisoned, but luckily she survives the poisoning. Regardless, Cheesecake has already been reported to the police by P.I. And that same day that P.I. reported her, police go straight to Cheesecake's apartment and they arrest her. Here's her mugshot. And she gets charged with trying to unalive Olga with poisoned food. She goes to court, she gets found guilty, and she's sentenced to 21 years in prison. And the best part is when she gets out, she'll immediately get deported, which means she'll get sent back to Russia, and there she'll face charges for unaliving Moms. Good luck with that. Shout out to New York and Russia.